The 7th Africities Summit was recently concluded in Johannesburg, South Africa, under the theme Shaping the Future of Africa with the People. The success of the conference is being measured according to policies and strategies that have and can be implemented.
People are coming to Africities because they want responses to their problems. And they are coming more and more. It means for them, it's not a talk show. The Africities is the place where the voices of local government are more loud on the institutional scene or arena of Africa. A good example of this is that we went that far to have the head of state adopt an African charter on decentralization. This is an accomplishment. And this came from the discussion that took place at Africities.
One of the things that we say in the local government sector is that to take an idea from a counterpart city is not particularly difficult. We don't have too many ego problems amongst mayors. So if there's a good idea in Accra, I will simply just take the idea and call the mayor of Accra and say, good idea, I'm implementing in Johannesburg.
Chantal Uimana, Regional Director of Africa Transparency International, has called for more accountability and transparency from local government officials across the region. She said failure to account was one of the many aspects of derailing progress in the continent.
We've been working at engaging at the national level, and we more and more realize that we have to engage the local authorities, because between citizens and the state, they are the first kind of entry point. And if there is no transparency and accountability at the local level, citizens will continue to feel the burden of corruption in their daily lives.
Which is one of the major challenges that many African countries are facing. Has there been a change over the years, or are we getting better or getting worse?
Unfortunately, we are tempted to think that we are getting worse, but the citizens' awareness and the citizens' demand for accountability has improved. Thanks to many organizations' work, including Transparency International, to tell the citizens that they have the right to know, they have the right to ask questions, and that the management of resources has to be at their own benefit. So we see that that is actually what really speaks in favor of engaging local government authorities, because if we don't prepare the local authorities to be ready to respond to the demand for accountability from citizens, then we risk creating tensions. And that is not the point. The point is that the demand and the offer of accountability and participation, the space for citizens to participate, has to start at the local level.
What is your key message to local government officials who are gathered here, and some will be watching across Africa?
My key message is the development dividend will be felt by citizens at the local level. And they have the power to make a change in the lives of citizens by promoting transparency, accountability, and participation. They need to work in an environment where transparency and integrity are the order of the day. And we are ready to provide them with tools and approaches they can use to respond to that demand from citizens.
Taking into account the effort to share and learn from experiences of others, Frederick Vaillier, Secretary General, Council of European Municipalities and Regions, said that Europe was keen to forge ties with Africa.
Europe and Africa have a long history, not always very good, but we have links between Europe and Africa. And for us, Europeans, it's very important to participate in this summit, because representing local and regional governments, we can build together some meaningful policies for development but also for cooperation. And we have to learn a lot from African experience, and I believe the Africans can also take some of our experience in transfer of technology and policies to ensure a good development for the population here in Africa.
One of the challenges that is in Africa is vulnerability to security challenges. In Europe lately, we have seen a number of terrorist attacks. What would you say on the issue of security infrastructure, especially in Africa, if they can draw some lessons from what you are doing in Europe?
Well, I'm not sure we have lessons to give on this, because you saw the situation in security in Europe is also very crucial. But security means many things. Of course, you have the problem, we have the problem of terrorist attacks, but not only. It's security in environment, security in urban issues, and this is something that we need to assess better and to find the good way, the good balance between, if we think about security in terms of violence, between liberty and security, and to make our cities secure for the citizens, secure for the women. It's a very important chapter. Many women are aggressed or are vulnerable in terms of security in cities. So we have to address those issues, and I think we can really work together to find the right balance.
William Corbett, director of Cities Alliance, called for a more robust approach in addressing informal settlements in the region. He called for local government officials to work on upgrading slums as to improve people's livelihoods.
Our observation is that because of the ambiguity of most national governments in Africa that haven't embraced urbanization in the way that they should, there's very often, mostly, very little forward planning. And so there is no land made available for urbanizing populations or urban growth. Services are obviously very often not provided. And the result of that lack of forward planning also means, combined with the pace and scale of the change, that we see the growth of many informal settlements, sometimes slums. But what I can say, if I look all over Africa at the moment, most African cities are growing informally. Most African cities are growing incrementally. And it's conferences like this and initiatives like this ask national governments and local governments to start thinking about the city as a unit and with the strength to ultimately drive the economy.
Some of the challenges in Africa are still infrastructure, electricity, water.
Yes.
What have been your observation? Is there a policy shift in most of these African countries that face this challenge?
Not enough. Clearly, as you point out, for us, what is always the single biggest obstacle is the urban land market and the land administration. And most local governments don't have the capacity or the data to be able to properly manage the land markets. This is a big obstacle. And then, of course, service provision. The most critical services, of course, are water and sanitation for people's health. But ultimately, Africa can't have an economic revolution without energy. Stable, consistent supplies of energy. And this is a problem in most countries in Africa. But we see signs of regeneration. Ethiopia and the Horn of Africa is sitting on what we believe will be a really significant clean energy revolution. So all over Africa, there's movement.
Thomas Agutu, head of HUAD coordinating unit of the African Union, said Africa was improving investment in cities infrastructure but called for more. He urged political leadership to ensure there were right policies in place.
This summit particularly brings together the managers of our cities in Africa, the mayors and other city managers. In my work within the African Union Specialized Committee that deals with issues of urban development and decentralization, as well as local government, we are in the process of developing an African Common Position on Habitat 3. This African Common Position is meant to highlight the specificities of urban development in Africa, to be included in the outcome document of Habitat 3. But while preparing this document, we are alive to the fact that the cities and the mayors and the city managers are critical in driving our new urban agenda in Africa. So my main role here is to ensure that I engage with the mayors and city managers in ensuring that the Africa's approach towards Habitat 3 is realistic and addresses the basic issues that we want carried forward in the outcome document.
Yeah.
Yes.
Since you work for the African Union, I want to pick your view, especially around the issue of infrastructure.
Yes.
If you think African countries, African municipalities are making good progress in that front.
While there are a lot of efforts towards improving basic infrastructure in our cities and urban areas, there are basic challenges of planning, governance, and political dynamics that are not working well in supporting the efforts and ensuring that the localized attempts can be scaled up. Within the Specialized Technical Committee of the African Union that deals with decentralization and urban development, we are looking to a future, particularly through the Habitat 3 process, a future through which our city managers and local authorities can be empowered to manage to mobilize local resources for improvement of services within their jurisdiction. There are many countries that have attempted to do that. I know Dakar is trying to raise a bond to be able to assist them to improve services within the city, but we think that there should be a framework to assist more cities and city managers to be able to have a strong basis for local revenue generation to facilitate that. So that is one area that can assist. The other area is to tighten our governance systems, which, as you may appreciate, have some loopholes, which even with the little resources that we have, we are not able to get a lot of value from these resources. We want to encourage systems that improve our governance systems and structures. And of course, the political hierarchy that we have in our cities and towns. First of all, they are very different across Africa. But again, in some countries, you have stronger local authorities which are embedded in law. In some countries, you find the local authorities are not grounded in law. So their operations are kind of not given the political punch that is necessary to enable them to execute their mandate. So those are the areas that I think should be addressed.